So we've got the French Open coming up in just about 13 hours from now when I'm recording this. Probably like 10 hours when you're gonna see this. I had to hurry back from D&D so I could get this video out, or record this video today. I haven't recorded anything since the Australian Open prediction, which is because I didn't have time. But I predicted the Australian Open fairly okay. I got the winner right. I got Sinner right. So now we're heading into the French Open with a few open questions, but so far as I'm looking at this draw right now, I feel like there aren't going to be too many surprises here, which is a great way to get you to click off the video immediately. But I'm just gonna go. I've got the bracket challenge from the French Open here, which makes it easier for me to edit the video because I've got a functioning bracket, like so. For example, like I can just choose the different players and it just pops up. It works really well. And we're gonna go through all of the matchups. If I have no opinions, I'm gonna just keep it short. Can Carlos get his second French Open in a row? Can Sinner win a non-hardcourt major? Can Djokovic do something? Can Zverev do something? Can someone else surprise? We're gonna find all of that out right now. We're gonna head in and go from top to bottom. Let's start with Jannik Sinner. First round opponent Arthur Rinderknecht. Should not be hard. Like, the French crowd is going to be against him, and it might be hard for him to deal with that because he hasn't had to deal with a somewhat hostile environment in quite some time, and the French crowd does tend to get riled up if you give them the chance to do so. But Sinner is not someone who's out with his emotions anyway, so he's not gonna give them a lot. He's not very hateable or something. So he should be through in 3 or 4 sets. I'm only saying 3 or 4 sets because he might still show some nerves, second tournament back, but it shouldn't be a problem. Then same goes for the second round. He's gonna also face a Frenchman, but is it gonna be Atman or Gasquet? Gasquet got his final tournament. He started up on the pro circuit in I think 2005, so it's been his 21st year now, basically, on tour. His last tournament now. Crazy career. Crazy staying power. He hasn't really reached the heights that maybe many predicted back in the day, but, he's got a very unique game. And he's got a wild card at Atman as his opponent. And maybe it's a bit because I want him to go out to Sinner instead of Atman. But I'm going to give Gasquet the win, and then Sinner's going to beat Gasquet. I think there's no surprises there. Lehečka versus Thompson is an interesting matchup because Thompson is kind of somewhat overperforming for an Australian clay court. Lehečka can play on clay, but hasn't had a very good season. I'm still gonna go. It's a toss-up, really, this one. But I'm gonna go Lehečka. No, I don't want to click on you. I want to choose you. Yes, Lehečka to face Davidovich Fokina, and Davidovich just been so solid. Now, if you take a quick look at the live ranking at the race or something, live ATP race, Davidovich Fokina is at 14. He's been really, really good this year. If we compare to Lehečka, what is it? Cat's making noises. He wants some attention. Is it 28? So yeah. And I think even though Davidovich has been very good on clay, he's gonna give Sinner not a lot of trouble. He doesn't have the weapons. He's more someone who forces people to make errors. He runs around a lot. He's one of the best grinders, as they say, grinds out those rallies. But he doesn't have the weapons, and Sinner's backhand and forehand are both so good. And Sinner's return against Davidovic's like second serve, I think Sinner's gonna... It's a matchup that probably Sinner should win any day of the week. Let's actually take a look at Sinner Fokina head-to-head. See real quick. Okay, they've only played once in 2022, where Sinner won a close one, but 2022 Sinner is so far away from current Sinner. But yeah, Sinner into the fourth round, that's quite obvious. Let's move down. Rublev versus Lloyd Harris. Lloyd Harris somehow always finds himself into these major first rounds and then doesn't do anything notable outside of that. But good on him for qualifying again. He's kind of living that qualifier life, but you know, good on you for actually being able to get through that. Rublev hasn't had a good season at all, but he won... What did he win? Dubai, I think? He won a 500. And he's been in the final just now in Hamburg. So yeah, he's gonna go through this. I think he has some confidence issues right now, but he's not gonna falter just now. And Matera versus Walton. It's another toss-up, but it really doesn't matter because neither of them are gonna fall to Rublev. I'm gonna go with Walton for now because, you know, Matera qualified, but it's hard. You know what? I'm gonna go Matera. Matera to beat Walton in 5. There you go. Good qualifier story. Ugo Carabelli versus Jorge Munar and Shari versus Feast. Those are some toss-up matches as well. Ugo Carabelli and Munar, I don't know too much about their playing style. I haven't seen Carabelli play at all, I think. And Munar isn't that remarkable. He's got some on-court antics that I don't like too much, that's all I know, but that's not too much to go off of. Ugo Carabelli, I just want to see what his form has been like. Let's take a quick look. He lost to Echeverry in straights, and then he played a challenger, where he lost to Boo, Italian Open, he lost to Zverev, he lost to O'Connell in Madrid, and in Monte Carlo he lost to Muller after qualifying. Meanwhile, Munar has been playing a bit better, right? Lost to Alice, lost to Rui. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Munar with this one. Doesn't matter though, because I'm gonna give Feast the W over Chari, even though that's also close. And Feast also the W over Munar, but then gonna let Rublev be in the fourth round with Sinner. We're gonna see how that plays out in a bit. I'm gonna pick the quarterfinalists right now. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Why Feast over Munar? It's just, I think Feast is gonna have like one of those first 2 rounds is gonna be really close, and then he's against Rublev. But Feast hasn't had a win yet at the French Open, and I'm giving him 2 wins, but he doesn't like these conditions, right? He's very much an indoor hardcourt kind of guy. You know what? I'm gonna have him lose to Shari. I'm changing my mind, and Munar to beat Shari. I think Feast just doesn't like these conditions. Feast to win 1 round and then lose to Munar. But either way, it doesn't matter. I feel like Rublev has like a very good draw until the 4th round where he meets Sinner, and then he goes out to Sinner because Sinner can just pressure Rublev's backhand so much, and it's gonna annihilate Rublev's second serve, and Sinner doesn't really have the same weaknesses. Like if Rublev goes with a lot of pace into Sinner, he's just gonna absorb it or redirect it to his backhand. I feel like that head-to-head is pretty one-sided. Is it? Let's take a look. Oh, it's 6-3. Rublev has actually had some some wins here and there. 2 retirement wins. Okay, let's discount those ones. Then it's 6-1. Yeah. They have only twice really played on clay full matches, and there's Sinner one back in the day. Yeah, I'm gonna give the win to Sinner to the quarterfinals. It's not really up for debate. de Minaur has a hard draw at the start. That's not easy. Laszlo Djere in the first round on clay, that's not something you want. That's someone who can kind of try to hammer past de Minaur, but he's the fastest man alive, basically. And he's had a very good clay season. So de Minaur into the second round. Bublik to beat Duckworth, but then Bublik de Minaur feels like, even though I'm not going to look this one up, feels like a matchup that's made for de Minaur because Bublik is so volatile in his play style. Like, he messes up a lot when things aren't going his way. With de Minaur, he's going to make you play these extra balls. He's going to get a lot of shots back. And someone like Bublik, who can come up with a lot of good stuff, is just going to suffer at some point. He's just going to make a mistake at some point. So de Minaur to win in 3 with this one as well. Then I'm going to have Rocha to beat Basilashvili, qualify from Portugal. And I'm going to have Menchik beat Muller, who's been playing really good. You know, beat Zverev earlier this year, like last week or something. And then Menchik to beat Rocha and de Minaur to beat Menchik. de Minaur in round 4. It's a hard draw if we look at like round to round. You know, those are like sizable names. But in these conditions, except for Laszlo Djere, I think Bublik has a huge advantage. He's gonna get a lot of double faults from Bublik here. Then we've got a banger first round. Hurkacz versus Fonseca. Hurkacz just played a nail-biter against Djokovic, and Djokovic won. But Hubi has been getting back into form. You know, a quarter-final in Rome, a final in Genf. And Fonseca, who is going to be a huge player soon-ish, next year maybe. He hasn't translated it from from South American clay to European clay. And I think that's something that should happen. You know, he had close losses here and there, but he hasn't really recorded any sizable wins. Close losses to like Tommy Paul or something where I lost 6-7, 6-7. But so it's not going to be like a Baez situation. Baez who overperforms in South America and underperforms in Europe. Fonseca is too good. I think his skill set is too good for him to suffer forever on European clay. But for now, I'm actually gonna choose Hubi just because he's the one who's more experienced in these best of 5 situations, and he's also somewhat of a confidence player. And I don't know how Fonseca will deal with that insane like second serve going high up. He's good with like attackable second serves. He can like annihilate that ball. But when it comes to like good second serves that go high into your backhand, I don't know how he deals with those. So Hubi into the second round. Albert versus Bonzi doesn't really matter because the one who wins this round also wins this. So I'm gonna give it to Bonzi probably, and then Hubi into the third round. And then we got Monfils versus Delien. That should be... Lamont has been very good this year. Not on clay. And he isn't that good at the French Open. And it's... You know, Monfils is the kind of guy who looks like he's gonna fall over and die 30 minutes into a match and then still wins a 5-hour match. But it's still harder for him to win in these slow conditions because every match is gonna be like a 5-hour thing. Against Delien though, I think... I don't know, how is Delien here? Is he qualified? Probably, right? Because I haven't heard of him in like a year. I think probably last time I spoke his name was last year's French Open. And then we got Bellucci versus Draper. And Draper is... Whoopsie, I'm always misclicking. Draper is just gonna go through and face de Minaur. Yeah, Draper against Bellucci. Draper has just been really good on clay, and he's gonna outlast Monfils. I think he's a better ball striker than Hubi, and he's gonna face Demon in the 4th round. So are we gonna go Demon or Draper into the what's his Alex Demonar Draper head. Oh, it's 4-1 for Demon. Have never played on clay. But also, like, Draper has been good kind of since then, you know? That's hard for me. But I think I'm gonna go Draper. He's been so solid. I'm gonna give him Draper into the quarterfinals. He's got a good draw. Like, I think Bellucci in the 1st round, very doable. Monfils in the 2nd, always hard, especially against that crowd. But I feel like Draper is cool enough to kind of deal with that. And Hubi in the 3rd round should be doable, even though Hubi found some form. Yeah, that's that. So we get so first 2 quarterfinalists are Sinner and Draper. How long have I been recording for? Oh my god, I'm yapping. 2nd quarter, we've got Zverev on top. Who do we have on the bottom of this quarter? It's Djokovic, of course. Zverev versus Tien. It's gonna be a bit of a... Oh, there's gonna be such a slog. Like, Tien is basically a new Medvedev, kind of, without the serve. And Zverev on clay is just a marathon anyway, but Zverev is gonna go through that. Then he's gonna probably face De Jong in the 2nd round, who I think is stronger than Passaro. And De Jong, he can make some matches awkward. He's someone who actually kind of overperforms. He sometimes punches up above his weight. Like, hasn't recorded like the wins, you know. But I think he can trouble Zverev. If I was Zverev, his draw, I wouldn't like it too much. It's kind of ass. But I have him going through. And then we have the following. We have Cilic, former semi-finalist, versus Koboli. And Koboli just won Hamburg in insane fashion. So I have him defeating Cilic. Because I don't know what to make of Cilic right now. He's still got the good forehand, but I don't know what about his recent results should tell me that I should pick him here. But these 4, it's hard to say who's gonna make it out. But Arnaldi on clay, better than Auger Aliassime. And then I'm gonna go and have Arnaldi beat Koboli, just because Koboli is too volatile in his consistency, which means he is inconsistent. And Arnaldi is a bit better at that. And I'm gonna have Zverev beat Arnaldi and go to round 4. And that's where things get interesting. I have Cerundolo beating Diallo. Cerundolo is just one of the best clay courters. So there's not really a lot to talk about here. He's got a big forehand weapon. He doesn't have the best serve, but he has great movement. Great returns. Lots of shot and rally tolerance. He's just one of the top 10 clay courters at the moment. And I think Greek Sport Giron doesn't really matter who wins, because Cerundolo is in the 3rd round, I think. And is gonna meet someone, I don't know. I think Lajovic to beat Shevchenko. Shevchenko, who lost in the quali but got in by a lucky loser spot. Lajovic, I think, is a bit better than that. And Dimitrov has been so horrible. So I'm gonna give Dimitrov a win, and then Lajovic to get a retirement win against Dimitrov, who's gonna get hurt again. That's what I'm predicting. And then Cerundolo to make the 4th round, because Cerundolo has a good draw. Diallo in the first round is not that hard. Greek Spore, kind of tricky, but Greek Spore is not someone who can close out matches, especially not best of 5, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. So yeah, it's Cerundolo's time to shine. And now we've got Cerundolo versus Zverev, and Cerundolo just beat Zverev in Madrid a few weeks ago. The head-to-head is 3-0, so yes, I am picking Cerundolo to beat Zverev and make the quarters instead of Zverev. Just because there's a lot hinging on this, right? Because Zverev's gotta defend finalist points from last year, and every one of his matches kind of sucks. Learn Tien can test his patience, kind of also warms him up into the tournament, but it's still not someone who's gonna fall over, right? So you still have to hit your shots, you still have to outlast your opponent, and Zverev is not playing all that well right now. De Jong, also awkward opponent, he can punch above his weight. And then Arnaldi or Cobolli or Cilic or FA, all kind of horrible picks. But he's gonna go through it. And then in the 4th round, you've got your nemesis, Cerundolo, or one of your nemesi, I don't know. So yeah, I just, if I had to pick someone into the quarters, just Cerundolo is more likely to make that run and pass all of these tests and even get to that stage. And Zverev might even falter at one of the first 3 rounds. But I think that we got Cerundolo in the quarters. That's my prediction. Then we got Medvedev versus Norrie. You know what? I'm gonna pick Medi into the 3rd round here because Norrie has had a good run at Genf, but I don't think he's gonna bother Medvedev too much. Medvedev is not a clay courter, but he can outlast Norrie. And Kovacevic, I haven't heard too much about Gomez, but Kovacevic has been somewhat okay. But yeah, very easy first rounds, I feel like, for Medvedev. And also easy 3rd round, because we've got Fernley, I think, beating Wawrinka, who got a wild card, but Wawrinka just doesn't have the stamina anymore for 5 sets. And if Wawrinka doesn't win in 3, Fernley wins this. And we've got O'Connell beating Humbert, because Humbert is horrible at the French Open, I think. And we've got Fernley beating O'Connell and Medvedev beating Fernley. I got Medvedev in the 4th round. I'm also kind of surprised because this is clay, and Medvedev this year has been kind of horrible. You know, it's not this year, 2024 has also been kind of bad, but he's still Medvedev, you know. He had a solid enough roam for me to be like, okay, he's still someone who's not gonna fall to in every tournament 1st round. And Slam Medvedev is still kind of different because it's best of 5 sets. He can get his head back in the game. He can stay in the game, and I think he's still gonna be able to outlast many opponents who don't have the weapons to kind of deal with him. And then we got the Djokovic part. We've got Shapovalov against Martinez. I think Shapovalov should be able to get through that. But he's still hot or cold, so I'm very... I don't like choosing him, basically. Misalic or Boo. I'm gonna go with the Austrian bias and choose Misalic into the 2nd round. And then I'm gonna have Shapovalov beat Misalic. Like, I think I wanna choose Misalic because I like him, and because Shapovalov is so inconsistent. But if Shapovalov just plays okay, he should be in the 3rd round easy. Then we've got Mute to beat Tabor and Djokovic to beat McDonald and Mute. McDonald's is a great 1st round for Djokovic. Like, American who isn't a good clay courter. Yeah, perfect. Mute also, people are like, Mute's gonna get the crowd behind him. Well, Djokovic performs well against a hostile crowd, so like someone like Mute is actually a perfect opponent. Like he's gonna get riled up and gonna be all over Mute. I think there's a bit of a... Well, there might be some ups and downs in that match, but Djokovic will get through that, I think. He also won Genf just now, which means he kind of already had his played himself into this tournament. It feels like he's got so little time off that he can just take the feeling of winning a tournament and kind of translate it into the French Open. I think that was the goal. Because otherwise he would have pulled out in the semifinals. If it was like, oh, I just want to get some matches, but don't really want to compete because I'm not feeling like my legs can withstand all of that durability-wise. But I think that was actually his plan to win, and then just kind of try and keep on winning. And I think it's gonna bite him in the end, come back to bite him in the butt in the end, because French Open is the most... Oh. Okay. Uh-oh. So my girlfriend just had to catch the cat because the cat is about to puke. So yeah. Unfortunate. But that's just what cats do from time to time. And my girlfriend is kind enough and knows already what to do when the cat is doing all of these noises. She knows that he's about to puke. So yeah, Djokovic should beat Mute. Djokovic also to beat Shapovalov. And then we've got Djokovic-Medvedev. And I think Djokovic beats Medvedev here as well. I think it might be Djokovic in the end that he's played Genf all the way through. Because it would mean that he has to play 11 matches in 3 weeks. And that's just too much, I think, for 38-year-old Djokovic. But I feel like he's playing more aggressive now, even on clay. And I think it might be enough to beat Medvedev here at least. Yeah, so Djokovic into the quarters against Cerundolo. Right? Yeah. We're gonna think about that one. Then we've got the Musetti quarter. I'm calling it the Musetti quarter because it's so open, and it's certainly not Fritz's quarter because he hasn't played well in the last month or two. So I'm gonna go Musetti over Hanfmann. Musetti has just been way too good. I'm gonna go... Doesn't really matter who I choose here. Galan over Royer and Musetti over Galan. The second round for Musetti is gonna be easier than the first one, I think. We're gonna go Hichikata over Opelka and Navone over Nakashima and Navone over Hichikata just because he's a clay courter. Hasn't really played all that well here, but that's a soft little pocket here. Because Opelka, you never know if he's healthy. Hichikata is in the clay court, and Navone is a clay courter, but without weapons. And Nakashima might be able to power through, but his serve is just so nerfed on the surface, so it doesn't really make me feel good about any of them. And Musetti has a very easy run into the fourth round. Like, can't really ask for a much better draw. Machac, for example, if we compare to Machac, for example, or to Rune, to either of these seeds, horrible draw. Machac got Halis in the first round, who he's gonna beat, I think. But then I'm gonna go with Baez into the third round, even though Baez is not that good in the French Open, as he should be. He should have had like 1 or 2 quarterfinals already, and I don't think he has those. or at least maybe a semi-final. That would be more of what he can theoretically do. But I think he's going to get past Kecmanovic. And Machac just has so many retirements that I don't see him performing well at the most exhausting tournament of the year. So he's going out in the second round. But yeah, it doesn't really matter all that much because here I've got Rune going through anyway, but I just have to pick someone here. So let's pick another here against Van Zandskulp. Doesn't really matter who wins here. Rune, if he gets past Bautista, who I think on clay, very beatable. Rune's got the weapons variety, Bautista's old. He's still not a pushover, but Bautista's gonna be good for Rune to kind of get his steps in, get into the groove of things, and then the second round should be no problem. Then the third round, he should also get past that. But then I think Musetti has just been too consistent. I think Musetti is able to just win. He's been so good. When it comes to these close situations, he has been suffering. But I don't see Musetti getting into any close matches here. Like, he's gonna drop one set in the first 3 rounds and then one set against Rune. That's my prediction. And that means that Musetti is in the quarterfinal as well. And here we have the most open 8th of the section. Tiafoe, Safiullin, Carreño Busta, Comesaña, Brooksby, Faria, Dadri, Koda. Who fucking knows? None of these I'm confident in. None of these I would bet a cent on. None of these I think are gonna have any chance of making like a semi or something, right? Like, whoever makes a run out of these people, I'm very happy for, but none of you are gonna decide anything that's gonna happen in this tournament. Same goes for the other the other 8 people here. So yeah, let's just pick. Oh, that's so hard though. I mean, sure, Tiafoe to beat Safiullin, Comesaña to beat Carreño Busta, Comesaña to beat Tiafoe, just because, I don't know, man. Faria to beat Brooksby, Dadri to beat Faria, Dadri, yeah, also to beat Faria, but to beat Koda. I'm not trusting the Americans here, at least not those Americans. They really picked all the weakest Americans and the weakest European clay quarters and worldwide clay quarters in one section, or like even non-clay quarters. Yeah, I don't know, man. Dadri to Comesaña to make the 4th round. Someone's gotta make it. Someone's gotta. But this is not gonna be accurate. I have no belief in this pick whatsoever. It's gonna be one of those 8. It's gonna be random. Not saying that the matches aren't gonna be fun. The matches might be really fun, because we don't know what's gonna happen and because the seeds are so up for debate. But yeah, it's just gonna, like, look, it's none of these have been good this year on clay. I mean, Brooksby kind of, but he's been good on US clay, and that really doesn't count. Mickelson, Cerundolo. Let's put the young Cerundolo through. Maješak versus Medvedovic. Maješak has been better, I think. Sure. Yeah, you into round 3. Fritz to beat Altmaier. Altmaier is just not the same right now. Fritz also to beat Kopriva. And Fritz to beat Maješak. And you know what? Fritz into the quarters. His draw is just too good. You could not have asked for a better draw for Fritz. He's gotta make this. He's gotta make this. Like, he hasn't had a good year. To be fair, he's lost in 3 of the Masters tournaments. He lost to the eventual champion. And at the Australian Open, he lost to Monfils, who played out of his mind. That was like one of the best matches Monfils has ever played, I think. And he's not a clay quarter, but Fritz is better than all of the other Americans on clay. All of these Americans on clay. And his draw is just too perfect. And yeah, Altmaier beat Sinner like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, okay, so what? It was in 2023 Sinner. That doesn't count anymore. But yeah, somehow, it's like the Star Wars Episode 9 thing. Somehow Palpatine returned, somehow Fritz got into the quarters. Like, no idea why that's possible. I love Fritz, by the way. I think he's a great guy. But normally, if he got a different draw, he would be out in the second or third round. And now he's going to be in the second week. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you have luck of the draw. Ruud doesn't have luck of the draw, but he has the luck of being a clay quarter and this being his best tournament and him being a 2-time finalist. So he should not have any issue whatsoever to get into the 4th round. Quick explanation of my choices. Ruud over Ramos Vignolas. I think it might be Ramos' last tournament. I might be mistaken. But I think he already announced his retirement. So it's gonna be... It's imminent. If it's... Let's take a look here. Vignolas retirement. End of 2025. Fair enough. So it's not gonna be his last tournament. But... last French Open against Casper Ruud. That's a nice way to go out. Ramos Vignolas not the kind of guy who would make a deep run now anyway. So it's good that he gets to go out in a big stadium. Like he's gonna play in like the 3rd biggest court or something. Nice, awesome for him. Borges over Jacquet. Borges just solid, but not solid enough against Ruud. Poprin. Good enough on clay to beat all of these out of form players, but not good enough to beat Ruud. Kind of obvious here. Then we've got this pocket, interestingly. We've got Khachanov defeating Vukic. Khachanov in best of 5, always a bit of a step up. Ofner versus Struff. Ofner has been playing good, you know, he's the best Austrian player right now, so I've got a lot of hope in him, and I also know quite a lot about his play style and what he's done. He came through qualis in Rome, then made the 3rd round. And he came through qualis in Ghent and made the semi-final. His legs might be gone because he's played a lot of tennis, but he basically won... how many matches? Like 9 out of his last 11 matches. That's good. And he beat Khachanov last week in Genf in the quarterfinals in a tight match. But I think Khachanov is gonna get the better of him here in 5 and go to the 3rd round. Why Ofner over Struff? Well, Struff hasn't been good at all, and they're kind of similar. They've got a kind of similar play style, but Struff has a higher ceiling technically, but just doesn't reach it right now. Like, and if Ofner just plays better right now, they would have the same strategies kind of against each other. They both have a good serve, an okay forehand if I remember Struff correctly, and kind of a laser backhand. And yeah, I just see Ofner winning in 4 against Struff and then losing in 5 against Khachanov. And then we've got Tommy Paul, who has a good draw up until the 3rd round where he meets Khachanov. But Tommy Paul is good enough on clay to beat Khachanov, I feel like. Because Khachanov is not as good as he used to be. He's not going to make a semi-final here anymore, I think. Did he make a semi-final here, or am I mistaken? Karen, let's take a quick look what he did. Quarterfinal. Okay, fair enough. He made a quarterfinal here. Third round still good for Khachanov, you know, still held his seat up until that point, but Tommy Polt faced Kasper Ruud. And, you know, Ruud won Madrid, then lost to Sinner in spectacular fashion, meaning Sinner blasted him. But Ruud has still been so good. Ruud is basically in the quarterfinals of the French Open every time until he doesn't make it 2 times in a row. Then I'm considering him not getting to that anymore. But he's in the quarterfinals easy right now. Then we got the last quarter, or the last eighth. We've got Shelton versus Sonigo. Sonigo not good right now, so I'm picking Shelton. Gaston against Blanchet, whatever. Gaston to win. And actually, I kind of like Shelton to get through here. Then we got Gigante beating Hassan. And Tsitsipas is too strong at the French Open, I think. He's gonna get past Echeverry, who hasn't been great. Past Gigante, who has been okay for his like rank and stuff. And gonna get past Shelton probably as well. Because Tsitsipas just hasn't been good all year, but I think he's just good enough to get to the 4th round. But it's not an easy draw. It's not gonna be easy to get to that. But for example, against Shelton in these clay court conditions, I think Shelton's gonna get nothing on Tsitsipas' serve because he might get like a slow ball back, but Tsitsipas is so good at coming into the net and putting it away. I don't think Shelton's first serve return is good enough. And movement-wise, Tsitsipas is better. The first serve return of Shelton's serve for Tsitsipas is also going to be hard, so it's not going to be an easy match for Tsitsipas at all. He could lose this, but I still have him in the 4th round regardless. Then we got Sisu Bergs beating Mpeshi Perika. Mpeshi Perika, fascinating player, the most surfboard player I've seen ever. But Sisu Bergs is just someone who's slowly, over the years, gotten to a point where he turns from dangerous qualifier to dangerous 1st or 2nd round opponents. And I think he's gonna beat one of these guys, doesn't really matter, Sumhur, and get to the 3rd round. And Carlos Alcaraz doesn't have Nishikori anymore. He pulled out, which is a shame. But yeah, he's gonna get past Sepieri. He's gonna get past Marozsan, but it's gonna be a nice matchup because Marozsan actually beats Alcaraz on clay before. And he's gonna beat Bergs, and he's gonna beat Tsitsipas, and is in the quarterfinals. What can I say? Like, this is not as much of an easy draw as people would like to make it out to be. Marozsan's 2nd round is awkward. It's a player you've already lost against, who you shouldn't have lost against. And Bergs in the 3rd round. Bergs is gonna take a set off of Alcaraz, or at least like have a chance to serve for a set or something. But then the Alcaraz Tsitsipas 4th round, that's Tsitsipas lost last year to Alcaraz and was like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. And that doesn't inspire confidence. If you got someone as an opponent where you're like, yeah, I have no idea what to do, I can basically just give up. And yeah, Alcaraz to defeat Tsitsipas in 3 sets, even though he might drop like 2 or 3 sets to get to the 4th round. And Alcaraz is in the quarterfinals once again. And now we only got the quarterfinals to worry about. Let me just move up here until I can see everything. Yeah, we've got the quarterfinals. Yeah, I kind of went with the safe route. I don't feel good about, Draper could be Demonar. I don't necessarily feel that good about Cerundolo because he's still got to get past Zverev, I only feel very good about Sinner, Musetti, and Alcaraz. Those are the ones I feel, and Ruud also. But I have gone with very much the safe picks here. Which I think is a bit of a shame in the one hand, but on the other hand, there's talented clay courters this year, more I think than there were last year, but the draw has shaken out in a way that I don't see a lot of surprises happening. Until this point at least, because now 2 of these matches are gonna go as we would expect them to go, and 2 are not gonna go as we would expect them to go, based on the seeds at least. Sinner versus Draper. Draper is fantastic. Draper is also way better on clay than I thought he would be. I thought he would suffer. I thought he would have like 3 wins all season, but he's played very well. Still, Sinner is too good. There's really just one guy who I can always see beating Sinner, and he's on the other side of the straw. And we're gonna get to that. But now Cerundolo versus Djokovic. I actually had a think on that one. Djokovic now got 4 matches in Ghent, and that will be his 9th match. Would be his 9th match against Cerundolo, who can make these matches hard. He actually got to a 5th set against an injured Djokovic last year, and I think he's playing better this year than last year. Well, I'm not sure if Djokovic is playing better. Djokovic, if he goes through Medvedev, will have had a long slog of a match to get through that one. And that's why I think Djokovic is not gonna be 100% fit at this point, and I'm gonna pick Cerundolo into the semifinals. Yeah, bit of a surprise, and maybe it's gonna come back to bite me in the butt, because Djokovic, once he gets to these stages of a slam, he's been so clinical. You know, last year he was stopped by the meniscus tear, but normally, if he isn't hurt, he just continues on at least into the final. But he gets hurt a lot these days, and I think this tournament he's very prone to getting hurt, because that's the tournament where people get hurt. Because it's so long, it's so grueling. So I've got Cerundolo to beat Djokovic in 5. Maybe even a retirement or some kind of injury. But yeah, still good showing from Djokovic, but I just don't see him win a French Open anymore. I would like to be wrong, because I think it would be fun if he won another French Open and thus would have won every slam 4 times, but I just don't see it happening. Musetti against Fritz. Fritz would have had a cakewalk draw until that point. Maybe, but honestly, I don't even know if Fritz is gonna be here. Like, I'm not confident on any of the 16 players in this section. It's crazy. Which is why it's so free. It should be so free for Musetti to get to the semis, if he's already in the quarters. Like, none of these players. I pick Musetti over any one of the players in the other side of Fritz's part. And, you know, Musetti, if Rune manages to take the first set or something, he might lose his nerves or something. But if he plays as well as I've seen him play, then he's gonna be in the semis. And Alcaraz defeats Ruud, because that's what Alcaraz does. And then we got Sinner versus Cerundolo and Musetti versus Alcaraz. I think Sinner got some quite nice patterns of play that he can play against Cerundolo, which Sinner likes. Sinner likes having opponents where he knows what to expect. And you expect from Cerundolo a not great serve, which is gonna be obliterated by Sinner. You expect a lot of long rallies. You expect a very quick forehand, and you expect a very attackable-ish backhand. So the backhand-to-backhand exchange for Sinner against Cerundolo will be decisive, which is why I'm gonna pick Sinner to make the final of the French Open. And he is going to face Carlos Alcaraz. It would be so fun to have like an all-Italian final. That would be crazy. Alcaraz has beaten Musetti on clay this year before, and he's the best clay court player at the moment. At the moment, he's technically the best player in the world as well, even though I'm not as comfortable in saying that, because he still hasn't played to his near his ceiling, I feel like, except for maybe the final against Sinner in Rome, and that's already the point, you know. He plays against Musetti, who he beat in the final in Monte Carlo, and he will play against Sinner, who he beat in the final in Rome, and there's reasons behind that. And I think the Musetti match is even more awkward for Carlos, because Carlos, he can have dips, and Musetti can have dips in the matter of like a 4-hour match, but I think Carlos is good enough, especially in fifth sets, to get through that. So I have Carlos advancing in 5 in the semifinals and meets Sinner in the final. And last year that was a battle. Last year in the semifinals it was 5 sets and Carlos got through. This year I think Sinner would need to get off the front foot. Like, he would need to take the first set if he wants to have the belief to get through this. But I just have Carlos Alcaraz winning the first ever Sin-Caraz Grand Slam final in 4 sets against Jannik Sinner and winning his 5th major title. Yeah, this is my prediction. This is my entire draw. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your draw would be. I'm quite confident in most of these. Like, I think Alcaraz is kind of free. I think Sinner has a decent enough draw to get through. All of these in the middle are kind of up for debate. Not too sure about those, but I think Cerundolo has been good this year, and Musetti has been really, really good. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this. I hope you as well. And yeah, most likely you're only gonna see me when I decide to do one of these again for the Wimbledon predictions. So until then, I wish you all the best. I wish you a lot of fun watching the French Open. So far I'm 1 for 1 for Slam winners this year. Let's see if we go for 2 for 2. And that's it. Goodbye.